My name is Jen Frankel, and this is my book, The Last Rite. Well, I've been writing forever. I love to write. I love to make up stories. I actually had a dream when I was about 13 years old that kind of started off the journey that took me to actually write this book. I'm used to having quite vivid dreams, and I also always get the feeling, I don't know if you've read about lucid dreaming, but the idea that you actually feel like you can put some direction into the dream. So it was a really powerful dream at the time, and that's actually why the character is 13 in the book, because that's when the dream happened. But I feel like I couldn't have written it until a lot later. So I've actually felt like I can go into that world in my actual dreams and kind of walk around and figure out what's going on and try different things out. I kind of think it's the author's job to know how a book is going to end. And one of the best parts about sitting down and writing is finding out that the characters are going to do something that I never expected in a million years. One of my favorite ways to write is actually to just sit with my eyes closed and imagine the scene and take one of the parts and sort of half take the other part, but usually I'm more invested in one character, and I'll actually play the scene through, and that's when the most amazing things happen, because things that I never expected to happen will happen. Most of the main characters, there's a few of them that are sort of the 13 to 14-year-old age, like grade 8 in Canada. So Maggie and 3 boys from her school who are all around that same age. Really Maggie's story. But we do follow, actually the first time I wrote, the first draft of the book was actually in third person, because I didn't think that I could have Maggie as the character all the time, because I wanted to follow other characters. But yeah, it's essentially Maggie's story. Everything happens because of who Maggie is and what people want from Maggie. But we also follow her mom, who is like a struggling single mom, and her ex comes back into her life at the beginning of the book, and because Maggie's been kidnapped, they both join forces, so to speak, to go after her. And then there's Hunt, who is Maggie's favorite teacher, but who apparently has a lot of very dark secrets himself. And then anyone who's tried to write a book probably knows you get to the point where suddenly you realize you're bogged down. You have no idea exactly how you're going to follow the threads through. Even if you know how it ends, you have no idea how you're going to get there. And that's usually the point where I go into a very, I suppose, very disjointed manner of writing. I'll actually write chapters all over the place, and I'll usually try to write the ending quite early on in the process, so I know what I'm working towards. Every time I get an idea for a scene, or for a moment in a scene, I'll write it on a recipe card, and quite often I'll end up with like just an entire floor with recipe cards, and then I can actually sort them by character or by storyline, and then I can actually just move everything around, and then I'll get up on the table and look over them from the top. Yeah, so I've got, you know, from this one story, I've got a bag full of recipe cards. It's about this big. There's a previous edition of the book, but when I re-released it in this form, one of the things I wanted to do was to show part of my process, which is that I love to use illustration to break writer's block. So when I get to a point where I can't figure anything out, often I'll actually sit down and I'll sketch the characters. Well, you can find lots on YouTube. I actually have, if you want to hear the whole book, I've actually done an audio version of the book that's available for free on YouTube. So if you're trying to figure out if you'd like to read the book, if you search on YouTube for Jen Frankel, The Last Rite, you'll be able to find, I think it's in 19 parts or something like that, but it's unabridged. You can also go to jenfrankel.com, which is my website, and you can find out more there. Or you can search on Amazon.com and it'll come up with the book and a little bit more information, and I think you can read an excerpt there as well.